your role in world healing. Now, you may have never thought of yourself in that way, that you had a role to play in the healing of the world. And you might be looking at the world now and thinking, well, what can I do with that? And what am I supposed to do? And you'll discover that you have an important role to play because that's why you were born. And you were born to become your authentic self and to thrive and expand and evolve and all of that. And when you do that, you're putting a completely new energy into your life and into the world. And then you begin to start to evolve or ascend to a higher state of consciousness, or understanding who you are and how important you are, and especially how important you are to be existing on the earth at this time, because we're moving through a great change. It's a generational change. And I published an article a little bit earlier talking about the societal changes that we move through. And so it can be really uncomfortable for us individually and our world. But see, that's where you come in, because you can change it. You change it when you decide that you're going to heal yourself, that you're going to become happy, that you're going to become abundant, and you're going to live the best life ever, because that's why you were born. Now, you may not have interpreted it that way because you might have lived a different life and experienced some things that were challenging. That still doesn't matter, because that was your contribution, you see. Because when you move through it, you learn something and you gain something. And when you can appreciate what you've done, then you give something entirely new to the world, and you start to feel yourself in a new way, and you're making a contribution, and you're feeling that contribution because you're seeing it in your life. That's where it shows up. We come into the world, we don't know who we're going to become. We have to learn that. And so the only way we learn it is in our consciousness. But what we also must understand is that that consciousness has been formed before we got here. We just come into the earth and then we start picking up things. And then if it doesn't really go with us, we keep sometimes living the same thing that existed before. We can do that individually, and we can do that in our world as well. We've gone through many periods in our world where that has occurred. But then what happens is the people who are living during those times, like now, will discover something to help us get to another higher level of understanding or of civilization. And I was given that. And that was really challenging for me to accept, as what you have might have been challenging for you to accept, but I know that it's there. There's no person who was born that doesn't have this ability or talent or gift. We just sometimes interpret it in a different way, that we don't allow ourselves to understand our importance. And then we can pass that on to everyone else. Then we pass that on to generations who are still yet to come. And they are saying, well, no, my family, my parents couldn't do this, so I probably can't either. And then someone comes along like me that says, no, that's not true, and you can accomplish anything. And sometimes we will resist even that, as I did, because I discovered that I had this. I'm going to tell you another story, because I've had a long career. I'm 73 years old, and I've done a lot of different things. And so a lot of that has given me the understanding of how life works. So I do get that. But what I didn't know is how my own life was working. None of us do. We can't see ourselves because we are living what we came to do, but we can't have this objective kind of view of who we are. And so sometimes you can go through your life and never know what you have built up within you. And that's what I've discovered is always there. And I know that for sure because I was given all of that information. When I started receiving Wilhelm in 1989, I had no idea what it was going to do, where it was going to lead me. And most times it felt so uncomfortable that I wasn't going to talk about it or tell anyone. And I didn't know why I was having it, why I was receiving it. And then I'm going through at the same time horrible things in my life, failures and disasters and illnesses and just all manner of things. And then I thought, I don't want to live anymore. That's what I thought many times. And that's where many people think that's that dark night of the soul. People who are on the spiritual path, they know that really well. And I've had a zillion of them, so I do understand. But I also know one other thing, that they help you, that they cause you to become stronger, they cause you to become more enlightened, they cause you to become more awake. That's what happens. And then you make a greater difference in the world, because that's how you will fulfill your role of world healing. There would be no other reason for you to be alive. And then you will do it in different ways. Everyone will do it in a different way. I could have never told you that I was going to spend my life for more than 35 years sitting down every day and downloading a philosophy that was meant for this world at this time. That made no sense until I saw it happening and knew that it was working. And I doubted it because I want to say that because you will doubt yourself when you are embarking on anything that's new. We just have that built into us, that fear of the unknown that we've probably carried since birth. But see, then we also carry that and put it into the world and we put it into our society. That's why we're having so much trouble right now during this time because the entire world is deciding who they want to be, meaning that we're having elections in 60 some countries across the world and people are deciding what life do we want to have. And we're making that choice individually. And you make that choice when you decide to love yourself, when you decide to become your authentic self, and then you're fulfilling your role. Now, the other thing that happens over time, we begin to discover that there are ways of using our minds, our consciousness. We know it to be mindset and all of that. We know that there's a way for us to do that, to break through any barriers that we might have had, any bad experiences, whatever it is. We know that. But then there's another aspect that I came up with, which was the one that I held back. I know that we're all connected to a greater source. And so when we come into the world, we look at all these differences and we think that something is different within us instead of recognizing, nope, I'm a human. I have a soul. I matter. I came to the world to do something. But I've been taught something else for maybe generations. And so now I can change that. And this is the opportunity that's in front of us now to make a change. I talked about this before because I didn't understand why I was given certain things to move through, but I understand it now. One of the first articles, not one of the first, but it was an article I wrote in 2016 talking about being, I might be racist and with misogynistic tendencies. And I go, people saying, why are you writing that? See, because that's the first step to healing. When you can imagine that you are this eternal spiritual being and you might have existed in different lifetimes, you might have existed in different people, different races, different genders, whatever it was. None of them were wrong. It's just something that was different about you. But then over time, we start to understand through science, actually, that it's much easier to progress when we let go of the biases that we've carried within us and that we've also carried within our collective consciousness. And that's the work that I was given. And it was so surprising to discover that. So then in 2020, basically, I kind of became aware of where the world was going and changing. And I had started changing my life many years before that because I knew intuitively then, but telling others was really challenging. And so, but then I got to the place where they said I had to do live channeling. I'm talking about my Wilhelm, what I hear. And so I said, I can't do that. And he said, well, you have to because you might break if you don't. What they were talking about is me breaking myself because I'm not willing to live as my authentic self. And it's the same for you. So then we start to understand energy has a quality, and the quality of love and light and self acceptance is a much higher vibration quality because we've let go of all the old stuff. And so then we start to heal. And I was doing all kinds of really impossible things that it was challenging to tell others, but I can't do that anymore because then I'm not living my authentic self. Because I healed things physically that people said that's impossible. And I'm telling you it's not. The limitations are passed on to us. We are meant to develop something new. And at 73, I can tell you that it's happened. But I'm saying that because you can do more. And I love that thing about, people say, well, Jesus came to do this, and he said that we could do more than him. But we keep saying, no, we can't. I'm saying, yes, you can, because that's a consciousness again. We only exist in physical form through our consciousness. That's how we experience everything. That's how we see ourselves. And when we can acknowledge that the only difficulty that we will experience in our lives is when we are not willing to own ourselves, when we're not willing to own the next portion of ourself. And when I'm using the word self, I'm talking about that greater self that is connected to all that is, which means it doesn't have anything to do with your where you came from, how old you are, your gender, none of that stuff. Doesn't matter. It's who you are as an individual soul. And that will take a while for all of us to come to understand, because I do know that as we progress as a society, as a world, that we come to understand that oneness that exists within all of us. But there are times throughout our history where we have bumps in the road, so to speak, and we're having one now. And we're going to have it here in the United States where I live, because we have to move through our election, as everyone else is, but everyone looks to the United States a little bit more. And so we're going to make choices like happening all over the world. And the choices we're making are, which people are more important? Which people matter more? Which people should live? Which people do we want to accept? And so your choice will be, you have to accept yourself. And you have to go within and find that authentic self that is within you, that could give you this joy and happiness and love, and fall in love with yourself, because why else would you have been born? I just happened to have been given that path, but I had to live it. I had to go through all of that stuff. And so this is why I can say to others, I know who you are. And that became a little more challenging for me, because when I can sit with someone and do a channeling, a private or public channeling, I can do all of it. And when I'm connected with your consciousness, I can answer any question. Then in 2021, when I discovered I had been given to this bulk of this information in 2012, and I saw it all, and I'm looking, oh, wow, this doesn't make sense. And then I was told that I was given a message. If I met someone, I was given a message on their birthday in 2012. And that seemed so ridiculous, and I wasn't going to even think about it, but I heard it. It was very clear. And then I started trying it. And then I would talk to people and I would read them their birthday messages, and they would cry because it was, they said, that's me. How did you know? There's a universal consciousness. We each have a portion in that. But when you came in to the world, it was a specific time. I happened to tap into that time and get that information. That's what happened. But then yesterday, even went even further, because we keep, we have to stretch ourselves a little bit more. But yesterday I heard, now go back, take the persons, because I had two consultations, take more years, give them a few lines of each year over their birthday when it showed up, because there's an alignment there. And I said, that's not going to work. And then I did it. And then they were blown away again, because they felt their authenticity. They felt that they had a plan and they had been doubting themselves. And this was just confirmation. I was told a long time ago what I was meant to do is give everyone confirmation, because what we do is doubt ourselves. I did it, so I do understand that. And then it's always this challenge of really being vulnerable, revealing ourselves. But that's the only thing that gives us the kind of life we want to have, if we want to accept ourselves and become happy and authentic. Yes, you may go through some really challenging times. I did all of them. But the other side of that is this awakened, loving person is now who is now abundant and contributing something to the world. And that is how your role in world healing will be fulfilled. And I know that is true. It was really uncomfortable for me. I'm this incredibly empathic person, and I just love everyone, and I just want you all to understand things. But also, I know that exposes me to so much, and so I held back. I was hiding out. I can no longer do that, because I'm doing a great radio interview in a week, a little more than a week, and it's going to go to millions of people. I was the reluctant mystic, so this is a really big shift for me. And then in October, I have another one where I'm going to 180 countries. I talked about a little bit of this, and I also said a little bit in my interview on Beyond Belief with George Nuri, and I hope you see that. And I will also leave a link in this video where you can attend the channeling session in October, because there will be 5 of us there, giving you all the information that we know from now of what is happening in your life and our world and where things might go. It's all energy. That's all we can understand, and you have control of it. You just may have been programmed to believe something else, which is why you wouldn't have felt your importance now. But I know that it is there. I've never met anyone where it wasn't. All I see is people who are not willing to love and own themselves. That's all that happens. But you have a choice. And that's why I wanted you to understand your role in world healing. Please check out all of my work because if you come into my program, check it all out and see for yourself. I just received this wonderful testimonial today. We're going to have more of them up there. And this person was just so blown away. They said, "I've only been doing this for a few weeks and I finished this part and I don't know what happened." And he says, I've never done anything like this. Nobody has, because it was created in this time in our world. And you can hear another video that's a testimony that's on my YouTube channel where someone else says the same thing. I've never done anything like this. We are each supposed to bring in something new into the world because that's how we own who we are and how we create something new and how we contribute to world healing. You have it within you to do that. I hope you do it now because that will make the biggest difference in your life and also in our world. Love yourself a whole lot more now. See you soon.